What is happening in Gaza as an occupied territory, what's happening in the West Bank as occupied territories, as the United Nations hearings now at the ICJ are beginning to prove, there are obligations for an occupier. And it seems that, I hate to say this, but even apartheid rulers were more moral than Netanyahu and his ilk. They did not bomb schools, hospitals, roads. They did not make life unbearable, take away all the buildings. They used to kill people, no doubt. They used to jail people. But even that regime had more morality than what we are seeing now.
Calling the Israeli occupation regime apartheid is not enough to describe the horrors of the genocidal campaign Israel is carrying out against the Palestinian people every minute, with the colonial goal of exterminating the existence of the indigenous people for the benefit of the foreign colonists. To discuss that, I'm pleased to be joined by Mr. Hassan Logat from South Africa, who is known for his strong defense of the rights of the Palestinian people and the oppressed, and whose poems and articles inspire the readers and give them more knowledge of the Palestinian cause and the Palestinian fight for freedom, justice, and dignity. Great honor to have you, Hassan.
I'm glad to be with you again, Brother Osama.
You're welcome. Considering the Israeli occupation crimes today, why we are talking, Hassan, just minutes ago, Israel bombarded Palestinian civilians in Gaza, killing and injuring 76. Many of them are children and women strewn in the streets. So the term apartheid is not enough. What do you think?
I'm embarrassed to say we gave the concept to the world because we believe that what South Africa, of course, in collaboration with Israel and all the pariah states were doing, was an affront to human dignity in our country and the world over. And when many union leaders, South Africans, political and other leaders, when they go or historically have been to Palestine, one of the COSATU leaders I used to work with went there and he said very, very early that what they're witnessing there is worse than apartheid, worse than what we've seen. In one of the programs that I was participating in, we had to admit that when we were fighting the regimes of, from the times of Verwoerd, Foster, de Klerk, all of them, they did not choose to bomb in such an indiscriminate manner Soweto. I'm now talking to you from a township in Lenasia, which is 5 kilometers from Soweto. What is happening in Gaza as an occupied territory, what's happening in the West Bank as occupied territories, as the United Nations hearings now at the ICJ are beginning to prove, there are obligations for an occupier. And it seems that, I hate to say this, but even apartheid rulers were more moral than Netanyahu and his ilk. They did not bomb schools, hospitals, roads. They did not make life unbearable, take away all the buildings. They used to kill people, no doubt. They used to jail people. But even that regime had more morality than what we are seeing now. Israel has undermined their own history because they've always tried to be the champions of those who have died. They try to usurp the history of Jewish people who were murdered in the Holocaust, the Nazi Holocaust. They try to take that history and gain sympathy for the cause of Jewish people. And we stand with Jewish people who suffered the Holocaust. But we cannot stand that history is used to undermine the people of the world. An injury to one is an injury to all. We feel the pain that you feel, Osama. You know, the news that came out on Monday that Israel had killed, this is before today, had killed 16,000 children, right, out of this 53,000. That is about, one child every 40 minutes.
Yeah, Hassan. But Hassan, Israel has been murdering Palestinians and has been on the genocidal campaign for more than a year and a half. And the international community, that is called international community, is silent. And when it speaks out, only condemnation and denunciation and nothing beyond the statement. So, do you think that we should be now afraid that the only future for the people of Palestine is genocide, as Israel is allowed to do whatever it wants with support from the American administration and many other governments around the world?
Yeah, Usama, I think we have to be very afraid, but we also need to, we do what we can and we should do much more.
Yeah.
American complicity is so obscene. I mean, uh, even Biden in an interview on the BBC last night is almost talking about how no one can trust America. America first said it wanted a ceasefire. When Israel breaks the ceasefire, they do this with the complicity of the Americans. So I really think that power, if it has to be exercised by powerful people, has to have some sense of decency, some sense of morality. And what's happening now, it is fomenting terrorism, that people are so desperate they'll take whatever means, and I don't know whether that means will ever make justify what Israel has done. You know, according to the health authorities in Gaza, that out of those 16,278 children, 908 of them were infants and 311 of them were newborn, you know, who just died after birth. I also heard in a figure that a number of people have actually died from from starvation, 57. The famine
Mhm.
is rife there. But you know what's happening, Osama, since you're based in the West Bank? While the world's concentrated eyes are looking at Gaza, the low intensity genocide is taking place in the West Bank. All eyes is talking Gaza, Gaza. I mean, the numbers of people who've died in and been killed in West Bank is over 800, right?
Yes, you're right.
Uh, uh, and what's happening? We don't know which town is next. They start with Jenin, Tulkarem. Will they be going to Nablus? Are they going for all the refugees? Are they going for UNRWA, the historical institutional memory of of uh, uh, of the refugees? Because while UNRWA exists, we know there's a refugee problem that has to be resolved. In fact, when Israel came into being, the United Nations, as part of the package, agreed that UNRWA has to be around to care for the refugees that are scattered in Palestine and the neighboring countries. They
Yes.
want to kill UNRWA and they want to kill all the refugees that are around and force people to leave the country so that Gaza is depopulated, ethnically cleansed, so that they can have this Eretz Israel that they want. And
Yeah,
they
and
can only.
Hassan, yeah, what you're mentioning remind us all of the decisive plan that the Israeli occupation government declared even long before October 23, because we know that Israel is using what happened in October as an excuse for its crimes. But the decisive plan that was declared by the rightist extremist Israeli government is long before October, and they gave the Palestinians three options: either you accept the occupation, or you leave, or you fight against the occupation and you get killed. Now, in light of the very frustrating situation around us, do you think that Israel is implementing the decisive plan and it's going to be like mission complete?
They can only do this if the resistance is entirely killed. And they are killing indiscriminately, trying to undermine the morale of Palestinian people. And I must say, I'm ashamed that we cannot do more. I want us to do more, and we, in conversation with you, to see what we must do. There is more,
Yeah.
right? But they will get away if there is not pressure in the powerful countries like the USA and in Europe. The belly of the beast is the United States. And I must say thank you to young Jewish activists who realize that every time a dark person, a Palestinian, a Arab, an African speaks for Palestine, they are taken out of the country. They've been kicked out. In fact, a friend of mine tells me that African Americans and others walk around with their identity documents, Osama, to kind of show, like in South Africa, when you were a black person, yeah, they had to carry a document called a pass. So they carry the book around, their birth certificates, to say, no, here am I am born in this country. Do not kick me out to another country.
Yeah.
So this is what's happened with the fascism in the United States. So we need to up the struggles in America. We need to up the struggles in the places where Zionism is strong, like in South Africa, in Europe, Germany. So we need to do that in a consistent way. But as we fight, and we, as noble as the small struggles that we are waging are, Israel is gaining ground every day. And I must tell you that I've read now that they bombed the Houthis airport and everything else. And Trump says the Houthis asked that he stopped, and the Houthis have denied that. There are not many people from the Arab and Muslim world coming around. When we fought in South Africa against apartheid, all the countries surrounding South Africa were known as the frontline states, and they made a certain pact of how to oppose apartheid, right? They, at a certain moment they decided that this time, so even if South Africa comes and attacks us, we will be there so that it can change. The countries surrounding Palestine do not have the same unity. They all seemingly want to make an alliance with Israel or America. Some of them want to normalize. And really, I know you can't talk too much about this, but normalization will kill the idea of Palestine. Saudi Arabia has said it will not normalize if there's no Palestinian entity. Now, what I think uh, Israel is trying to do is to minimize, have a small percentage of Palestinians and give you some Bantustan, some uh, uh, toothless organizations that they will call a country or canton, while they continue to make sure that there's Palestinians, this demographic fear that they have, the large numbers of Palestinians will be less than Jews. There has always been the ideal of Netanyahu and his inspiration, Jabotinsky.
Yes, and Hassan, my final question to you. Uh, you're a poet and you write poems, you write a lot of articles also, poet and writer. So you have this instinct and this capacity of understanding the feeling, the sense of the people, especially the people who live in a crisis all the time, just like the Palestinian people who have never lived without a crisis, from the British colonial power here to the Israeli occupation. That is the everyday life of every Palestinian. So, amidst the picture of desperation, frustration, and disappointment, is there a glimmer of hope? What do you think?
Osama, you will not be phoning me in the morning to do this interview.
Yes.
You are suffering more than me if you did not have hope. When you call me, I have to have hope so that we can um, strengthen each other. In fact, there's a Zulu saying in this country, Nguni and Sutu saying, says it's called Ubuntu. I am a person because you are, you know. A person is a person because of other people. And we survive because of your sumut. Your sumut is such that it inspires us. I know the defeats we are getting. You are constantly licking your wounds, but we hope that we will not be licking our blood, and that we will be having something sweeter together, some tea, when we've defeated this brutal enemy. But all these countries, if they stand together and make sure that there's no thirst, no starvation, that the borders are broken open so people can eat, let alone talk about freedom. Just eat and drink water.
Mhm.
And this is what Israel is doing. For people, the Israeli leaders claim they come from a history of people who suffered, but a number of Holocaust survivors don't regard Netanyahu as their leader. And they are right.
Hassan, it's always a great pleasure having you on our program. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Keep up the hope, and inshallah, we can do more.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching and have a nice time from you, Sam and Azal.